Got it. Okay. So this is the 8th chapter, Akshara Brahma Yoga, attaining the Supreme. Okay, so we are in the Bhakti Yoga section of Bhagavad Gita. So let's pray obeisance to Sri Radha Radha Govinda. Om Agnana Timirandasya Nanaka Shalakaya Chakshamitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Mena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yutapada Kamalam Sri Guru Vaishnamscha Sri Rupam Sagarajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vinvanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagat Pate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Shari Priye Vancha Kalpatru Abhyascha Kripa Sindhu Evacha Patitam Nam Pavinebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swamiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna. So what did we do in the last chapter? Chapter 7 was the beginning of Bhakti Yoga, where he gives the glories of Bhakti. Okay. So we started about knowing the knowledge of Krishna. And there he said that Shrinu, that is hearing is most important in the trying to understand this transcendental knowledge, because this is not like the other type of knowledge where we can go by Pratyaksha Pramana or by Anumana. This is only by Shabda Pramana. Only by hearing about it can we learn. We can get the taste from the devotees and then we can understand. Then what is that knowledge? He gives the knowledge about his spiritual energy and the material energy. It's a spiritual world and the material world he has made. And what are the energies? He talked about now the taste in the water. You can see the light, sunlight, light in the sun and the moon, moonlight, and the homkara, and so many things he explains. How by seeing this creation, we can perceive the how Krishna's energy is pervading everywhere. And then he says here, this material world, the living entities are entangled in the cycle of birth and death. And how to come out of this material bondage? It's not easy to come with our own endeavor. Only if you surrender to the Lord Krishna, then he will easily help us to come out of it. But then he says how people do not surrender to him. And there are 4 kinds of people, Dushkritinos, who do not surrender. We saw that, isn't it? So then we also saw 4 kinds of people who surrender to him. That is one in distress, and one who wants some wealth, or one is inquisitive, the other one wants to understand the absolute truth. So finally he talks about the Mahatmas who are all the time in the devotion of service to Krishna, and they're undeviated. So they know that Krishna is everything. The Lord, Supreme Lord, is the cause of everything and is in the whole. But there are some people who get attracted to the material benefits they get by worshipping the demigods. So he says, he is so merciful. He says, okay, if you want to worship them, go ahead. But he will strengthen our faith in it so that At least you do the worship of the devatas. But the only thing is they don't understand that devatas are the agents. They are the ones who are maintaining this thing, and Krishna has given them the portfolio. So, but they do take his permission before they grant you the benediction. That so you're indirectly you're getting it from Krishna. So that's supreme law that we don't understand, but we think we are getting it from the devatas, and these are all temporary. So if you are in that delusion, and then we have to take the path of devotion. So finally, he talks about how we are caught up in the Maya and how we are in the deluded and how to come out of it. So by attachment and detachment, this is the moha. So this is what we saw in last chapter, and how this chapter continues with questions by Arjuna. He is asking about some spiritual concepts like what is Brahma, what is Adhyatma, Karma. Again, he asked them. So he asked about the fruitive activities and Adik Bhuta, Adi Deva, and Adhyatma. And again, and what happens? Why? Because last thing in the chapter, Krishna ends up with the thing, remembering those Mahatmas, they'll remember him at the time of death. So that also he asked, because he's thinking at the time of death, our senses or the body may not be in the condition to remember the Lord. So what happens to them, such living entities? He's worried on that. So he wants more clarification on the thing. So now Krishna will answer all the 7 questions, and he focuses on the last question. That is what happens at the time of death. That is the whole chapter here. Chapter 8 is how to remember Krishna at the time of death. And there are people who do by Yoga Mishra Bhakti and remembering Krishna by pure Bhakti. Then it talks about the differences in the material world and the spiritual world, because that will make us understand that we should go back to the spiritual world, because that is where our real home is. And then he concludes by saying the supremacy of pure Bhakti is how we get Krishna. So let us see what the questions by Arjuna. Arjuna inquired, "O my Lord, O Supreme Person, what is Brahman? What is self? What are fruitive activities? What is the material manifestation? And what are the demigods? Please explain." Because he said, no, the demigods means you don't, you come back, the fruits are temporary and all that. So now he wants more explanation on the this thing. What is the principles? Okay. So, and Prayan. So how does this Lord of Sacrifice live in the body, and which part does he live? Okay, oh Madhusudana. How can those engaged in devotional service know you at the time of death? So, in fact, these are the questions. Again, it comes back. Now, we need to have some more clarity on these concepts, especially what happens at the time of death. So, now Krishna says, Jara Marana Mokshaya Mam Astritya Yatanti Te Brahma Tad Vidu Krishnam Adhyatma Karma Shakila. Sadi Bhuta Adi Deva Mam Sadi Egnam Chaye Vidu Prayana Kali Apicha Mam Te Vidur Yukta Chetasam. So this is what the 2 slokas which he said in the last chapter. Okay, in the end of the chapter 7. So these are the words which come up, the technical words. Te Brahma Tad Vidu Krishnam Adi Atmam Karma Shakilam Adi Bhuta Adi Daivam Mam Adi Dekna Chavyud. So Prayana Kala Chema Vidur Yukta Chetasa. So because he said this, so he wants more clarification. Oh, Arjuna. So what is Brahman? Brahman is nothing but, Krishna says, is Jiva, is the indestructible living entity. That is the soul, that is Brahman, right? And Adhyatma is the controller of the body. So nature of the Jiva is the Adhyatma. And that is Jiva is there, and Karma, that is the fruitive activities. The fruitive activities which we do with the body. Then Adibhuta is the material nature. Adi Daiva is the universal form which includes all the demigods. That is the Supreme Lord. Okay. And we are going to see that form in the next chapter. Adi Yagna is the enjoyer of service, the sacrifice, that is the Paramatma. So whatever you do, everything has to be done as he is the true enjoyer. We saw in 5th chapter also, he is the Bhaktara, Pratyagna. And where does he say the super soul? He is in the heart of all, everybody. The thing. So how to remember Krishna at the time of that? Practice remembrance. Think throughout life. You have to practice this remembering him throughout the life, not just at the end of the life. So this is what the Krishna says. Supreme Lord said, the indestructible transcendental living entity is called Brahman, and his eternal nature is called the self. Action pertaining to development of these bodies is called karma or fruitive activities. So, and the activities which we do is the karma, and this. And one more thing is about that. Here he clearly talks about our constitutional position of the living entity. See, when he is in the material world, what happens? He takes several bodies in this world, no? From taking from one body to another body, that is and as per his karma, isn't it? And that is the force of material consciousness. And because he is in the identification with this material. But if he identifies with this as a soul, that means he thinks he's not the body and he is the soul, then slowly when he is in that constitution, then he will be in the spiritual consciousness. That means then his position will be serving the Lord. Otherwise, what he does in the material nature, he will be in only with the sense gratification, only with the fruitive activities, with the material world. And afterwards, so he will be manifested in the 84 lakh species, I said. No, he could be either in the human form or a demigod, an animal, or anything according to his karma. So this is the way the nature he explains. Okay. Then the physical nature is known to be endlessly mutable. The universe is the cosmic form of the Supreme Lord, and I am that Lord represented as a super soul, dwelling the heart of every embodied being. So with this change, the mutable is always changing. It's like physical nature, that is our cells and everything keeps changing. And even the nature we see around, it grows and it changes, and every time there is a change all the time we see in the physical nature. Okay, so and here there's a thing also. Suppose a person is not stable, so he keeps going from one country to the other country, is not settling into any one particular place. Then what we say, that is has a problem, is not able to stabilize himself. We are also doing the same thing. We are not able to, we are going through so many species of life. We are taking the one body of the other, and we are not planning to reach our home, that is going back to the Supreme God. We simply keep changing our bodies. So Krishna reveals, in fact, the cosmic form is revealed to Arjuna in the next chapter we see. He is the outside. He is the Paramatma. Okay, and he is the Paramatma who is in every soul. And what is this picture shows is, this caterpillar is always thinking to become a butterfly. Okay, so what it is, it's constantly thinking of becoming a butterfly, and finally, after this thing, it gets into a coma stage, and then slowly it becomes a butterfly. So by constant remembering of the Lord and think, only then we can reach him. That's what Krishna says here. Antakale cha mameva smarana mukva kalevaram ya prayati sa madbhavam yati nasti atra samshaya. This samshaya means no doubt. And whoever at the time of death quits its body, remembering me alone, at once attains my nature. Of this there is no doubt. So you get the assurance. He is declaring boldly here. Clearly he is declaring that whoever remembers him at the time of death, there will no doubt you will attain my abode. He is very much clear. So in the beginning itself, now we know that if you surrender to him, then we get the relief from the material bondage. That's what was the clear message last chapter. Here the other is saying, without doubt, that if you remember him at the time of death, that you will attain his abode, which is without no doubt. And here whom we see Bhishma Maharaj, no, he's lying on the bed of arrows and he is waiting for the battle to be over, and he doesn't want to leave it till he sees Krishna. So they come to the end after the war is over and everything. Then the Pandavas and all will come, and they know that this is the time when he's going to leave his body, and Bhishma is very, very happy to see Krishna just before he leaves the body. Okay, he has a thing, no, boon from his mother that he can leave his body at any time he wants, right? But he's waiting for Krishna to come. At that time, no, it's a very beautiful prayer he says when before leaving the body, just seeing the Krishna, he leaves the body, and he is one of the Mahajanas. Only such Mahajanas can come in a battle and face. I think that was one of his thing to take part in the pastime of the Lord Krishna, because his pastime was to be on the other side of the army, right? To fight again in front of him. So he says, Arjuna was just behind you. You were his charioteer and he was behind you, but I was in front of you, seeing the way you were doing it. So the whole battle I was fighting with you in front of me. It was so nice. It's a beautiful prayer he gives, very nice. And so, and that was the mood we have to cultivate in the life. You cannot think, I will do all my sense gratification. At the end of the time when I'm going to die, I will just chant his name, I will go. It's very impossible. It's not that easy, because at that time, the whole, whatever we have been done throughout the life just comes like a screen, one shot of the other, tuck, 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 it will come, and your consciousness won't be that clear, and you will be just going through those things that it will remember Krishna at that time is not that easy unless we practice throughout the life. Okay, that's how this is the thing which we may not have time or think about it, and it's a risk. If you think that I will do it in the end, it's a risk you take. Okay, so we should, all the Acharya says it's difficult to remember Krishna if you have not practiced it in your life. So this is a thing from Mahabharata, I don't know if all of you know about this. It is, who is this person? If anyone can tell me. Okay, this is Yudhishthira Maharaj, and these are the other Pandavas brothers who are lying down. So here it is, Ahani Hani Bhutani Gachanti Ha Yamalayam Sheshaha Stvaram Pichanti Kim Ascharyam Atapram. So this Yudhishthira Maharaj, he'll be waiting for his brothers to bring some water, but then when he doesn't find anyone, he goes in search of them, and he also comes to this lake, and he sees all his 4 brothers are lying down unconscious. So then he realized there must be something here with this. That's why they have become unconscious. When he goes near the water, there's a Yaksha who says, before you drink this water, you must answer my questions. So, and his question was, what is the most wonderful thing in this world? So then Yudhishthira says, hundreds and thousands of living entities meet death at every moment. But a foolish living being nonetheless thinks himself deathless and does not prepare for death. This is the most wonderful thing in this world, isn't it? We don't think about how to prepare for the death. All we think of is how to live comfortably, but death can come at any time, isn't it? Once you are born, that is the only thing which is having 100% probability, 100% probability, and it's for everyone, every living entity, even an ant or a lion or any living entities. There is a death. Once they are born, there's a death. And how do you define old? That means we say 10 years old means then we are going towards closer and closer to that death, isn't it? So this is the most wonderful thing in the world. That's what Yudhishthira says. And it is true, isn't it? We see people, we see our relatives dying, we see our close thing, and we also see death everywhere, but we never think of preparing for the death. And it's not, so this is thing. And we have, and this also is another example we have from the Shastra which I taught. Yam yam vapi smaranan bhavan jati ante kalavaram tam tam evati kaunteya sadathan bhava bhavita. So now Krishna says you have to think of me at that time. And also he says, whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, that state he will attain without fear. Okay, so tat bhava bhavitaha. That means tam tam yam yam yapi smaranan bhava. Whatever the state you remember, think. So here whom we see the Maharaj, Bharat Maharaj, when he was, he was going in search of the deer, because the deer has not come, and he'll be thinking where this thing has come, and he falls down into a ravine. And while deer falling down when he's dying, he's still thinking of the deer, and it comes there in his mind. So what happens? This is the story if I told you earlier, no? That he will take care of this deer's mother would die while trying to jump the river, and it gives the birth to this baby deer. And Bharat Maharaj will be taking care of it. Instead of devoting his time onto this devotional service, he'll be worrying more and more day by day. That worry increases, and he'll caring for the deer. He gets attached. So what happens when he at the time when he's dying? Also, he'll be remembering of his deer. So in the next life, he takes the birth of the deer. But only thing is, he was in a very high stage of Bhakti. He was a supreme personality. Okay, he was a very great personality. And there are 9 stages in Bhakti process, in devotional process. The starts off with Shraddha. That means you should have some faith. Otherwise, you won't start the worship, your devotional service to the Lord, First, it has to be with small faith, and you have to check it out, whether it is. Then slowly, your faith in the Lord strengthens. How it gets stronger by hearing about the Lord and by chanting. And slowly you with the sadhu sangha, with those activities, you start getting more and more. The faith strengthens out. And then bhajana kriya. And then by doing these 3 things, what happens? Your anartha, whatever doubts and things slowly comes out. It slowly decreases, it gets clarified, and you get your thing. And then slowly the nishtha occurs. That means you're getting firm and firm in the faith with the Lord. And then you get the taste, and you love to do the devotional work for the Lord. And slowly these are the stages. You go to Ruchi, Ashakti, then Bhava and Prema. He was in the Bhava stage actually. He was, but at that time when he think for a momentary, he got caught into the being attached to this deer. But he was a very devotion service he'd been doing quite a bit. No? So the Krishna's mercy was there, and he could remember even as a deer, and he was always in the hermit ashram amongst the stages. And then he had to take another birth as a Jada Bharata, and then he leaves his body to go back. So which you could have avoided 2 births, but because of this attachment it is. So what bhava we have, but the thing also matters, right? So tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mam anusmara yudacha maya apito manobuddhi mam evashva asamshaya. Asamshaya is good. So he says with asamshaya without doubt. Therefore, Arjuna should always think of me in the form of Krishna. At the same time, carry out your duties. What was his duty? To fight in the battle. Think, because that is what's Krishna's order. So you do the fight and thinking of me. With your activities dedicated to me and your mind and intelligence fixed on me, you will attain me without doubt. So no doubt. So this is what we get the very clear cut instruction from Krishna. That is, without any doubt, you can go to him. All you have to do is you have to carry out your prescribed duties dedicated to me. That is your activities, mind and intelligence. And here whom we see, Lord Prahlad Maharaj, He's telling his friends, why are you wasting time in fun, playing and all that? You should devote your time in remembering the Lord. So he makes all his friends also to start doing kirtan. He's doing that. So remembering the Lord. How to remember? It's a question. And how things what Krishna says. Abhyasa yoga yuktena. Only by practice. Abhyasa yoga yuktena. Chetasa nanya gamina paramam purusham divyam. Eti partha chinnatyam. He who meditates on the Supreme Person of the Godhead, his mind constantly engaged in remembering me, undeviated from path, he is sure to reach me. So he says, Abhyasa, you have to practice the meditating, remembering only. That's what Krishna says here. And this is a story of a devotee, actually he's he was trained in the Ajamila. He's an Ajamila. He was actually a Brahmin, born in a Brahmin family, and he was very devoted to his parents, and he had a wife and everything. And one day he had come to the forest to collect some grass and leaves for the puja. Okay, at that time, I think he sees a couple in this passion, mode of passion, and he hears them and think it says, let me just see for a second and think, and slowly what happens, he gets caught into that Maya, and when he has gone back to his house also, Ajamala will be only thinking about that the couple, and then later he brings that lady also into the house, and then he doesn't treat his parents well and his wife well, and he'll be more and more caught into that lust. And what happens, even at the age of 80 or 88 years old, he had a 2-year-old son also. Okay, he was so much, and he did all sort of atrocious deeds, like cheating, even almost all, cheating, gambling, everything, so that he can satisfy the lady he has brought. So he had really gone after. But what happened was, at the time of death and around the thing, he sees some Yamadutas coming, some in vicious forms are coming, some people. Then he cries out in fear for his son. He says, Narayana, Narayana, because there's somebody is coming here, and he's very scared for his son. Actually, he has named his son as Narayana. The minute he utters the Narayana thing, then Vishnu Dutas come. So there's a big, nice discussion between the Vishnu Dutas and the Yamadutas, because they say he has done so many atrocious deeds in his life, in his thing, and he needs to go back with us to the Yamaloka. But Vishnu Dutas say, no, he has uttered the name, he has taken the Lord's name, so he will come with us. So then there's a big thing, and finally they take him. So you will think, but this whole thing he'll be seeing, witnessing. Oh, Ajamila will see all this. Then he feels so bad that what he has done with his life, he has regrets it a lot. And finally, the Yamadutas go away. Then the Vishnu Dutas give him a second chance. So he leaves the house and everything in that state, goes off to Haridwar, and then he purifies himself, and after doing a lot of penance, and then only then he goes back to the Goloka. Okay, so he is given a second chance because he uttered the Lord's name. The Lord's name has got a lot of potentials. So now Krishna says how to meditate upon, because he says not to meditate upon him. How should we meditate upon the Supreme Lord? One who knows everything. He is a person who knows everything. Okay, he knows everything. He is the cause of everything. He is the oldest and he is the controller. He is the smaller than the smallest, who is maintainer of everything, because he is the one who is maintained. He has created the material world. He maintains not only material world, even spiritual world, and is beyond all material conception. He has inconceivable potentials. He has got that you can't believe what the energies or what power he has, and how he is pervading the whole universe, cosmic universe. And he's always a person. He's not just an energy, He's a person. He's got a Shamsundra form, beautiful form, and is luminous like the sun, and being transcendental, he is transcendental and beyond this material nature. So now he explains what is attributes and how we should meditate upon the Supreme Person. Okay, so with all these attributes, so we are very, very clear and instructions step by step. So we know how to meditate. And this is how Lord Brahma meditates, Lord Shiva meditates. They are very well aware that he is the Supreme Lord. And in fact, this is how, and you always see Shiva in a meditate form, even Brahmaji also. So they are the ones who are all the time meditating on the Lord. So actually, Krishna has nothing to do. Only thing we should meditate on thing to Govindam Adi Purusha. Mam upeta punarjanma dukkhalyam ashashrutam napnuvanti mahatmana samshidim paramam gati. So what happens to the Mahatmas? After attaining me, the great souls who are yogis in devotion, that is the Mahatmas, he described no last time, and the ones who are all the time in devotion with him, they never return to this temporary world. Dukkhalayam. Dukkhalayam means it's a material world, is always full of miseries, which is full of miseries. Ashvastam, that is, it is temporary. And because they have attained Paramagati, that is, they have they got the highest perfection. So he is giving assurance that people who, there are great souls who are yogis in devotion who will never return to this material world at all, because it is full of miseries and they have attained the perfection. Okay, actually this material world is like a prison for us. We might have a first class prison cell or a super cell, but still whatever comforts we think we are having, but still it is a prison for us, and we need to come out of it and go back to the Lord. So from the highest planet in the material world down to the lowest, all are places of misery, wherein repeated birth and death takes place. But one who attains to my abode, O son of Kunti, never takes birth again. So this material world is a temporary, whereas spiritual world is eternal. And we need to go back to the Lord. That's what here Krishna is very clearly saying. So by human calculation, 1,000 ages taken together is the duration of Brahma's one day. And such also is the duration of his night. So when Brahma's day is manifest, so what happens, so when Brahma's day is manifest, this multitude of living entities comes into being. At the arrival of Brahma's night, they are all annihilated. So there are two types of annihilation takes place. That is, when Brahma's day is over and its night comes, all the living entities, they all go back into the womb of Garbhodaksha Vishnu. Okay. And again, when his day comes up, then all the living entities will again come back. Okay. And again, when the day comes, and then this host of beings are active, and again the night falls. So these are helplessly dissolved. But it is like a flash of lightning. No, we can't think. It's Brahma's day is so many thousands of years. Okay. Whereas there is another nature which is eternal, and it is transcendental to this manifested and manifested matter. It is supreme and is never annihilated. So what he says, the difference between the material world and the spiritual world is never annihilated. It's eternal. Whereas the material world, there are two types of annihilation. Partial annihilation is when during the night of Brahma, and when Brahma's life is over, then complete annihilation takes place. Okay, and that is about many billion years it takes because of the Brahma's life. So that's the thing. And again, what happens? This kind of annihilation doesn't take place in the spiritual world. It is eternal. So once the living beings go there, once they attain this abode, they need not come back. They will never come back to this material world where there's repeated birth and cycle. So he explains again the difference between the material world and the spiritual world. We can see the difference. So this is from Brahma Samhita. They have been able to find out, picturize the what the Brahma, no, when he sees the Vaikuntha and all that, he, in his prayers, he describes the entire Goloka, Vaikuntha and all that. So that is what is being depicted from his reference. So this chart I can show in the PDF more clearly. Here I can't show it expanded. I will, after this class, I will show this PDF, okay, where you can see how this is Mahavishnu, from where all the universe's globes are coming to his pose from his skin. And one of that globe is this, our Loka. And here you see and into each globe, Vishnu will enter as Garbhodaksha Vishnu. And here from each Garbhodaksha Vishnu Brahma will come. And Brahma, like that, there are Brahmas and Vishnu in all the universes. And here Brahma then creates the other lokas. We have the Satya Loka and so many things, which I will explain to you and show the PDF more clearly. Okay. So once they go there, they will be serving Krishna in any form. There can be as a cow, or there can be as a tree or a flowers or thing. They will be serving this thing, or as a Shantarasa or as a Vatya rasa. There's so many rasas if they will take part in the spiritual world. Okay. Everything, they will be having transcendental bodies. But there was a King Kulakshetra, he gives a very good, beautiful stotra. This is Mukunda Mala stotra. What he says is, "Oh Krishna, please allow my mind to immediately yield to your lotus flower like feet, because just as a flamingo enters into the labyrinth of lotus flower, when at the moment of last breath, my throat becomes constricted by the action of the bodily humus, air, bile, and phlegm. And how will I be able to remember him?" So he's he knows clearly that at the time of death, it will be very difficult to remember him. So he says, now itself you take me, because of the problems I might have at the time of my last breath. Because of the bodily, it may not be properly situated. So this stotra, that's how he prays to the Lord. So finally, Krishna says, Vedeshu yajneshu tapashu chaiva daneshu yat punya phalam pratishtam atyeti tat sarvam edam veditva yogi param sthanam upaiti. What he says is, once we accept this path of devotional service, it's that is enough. You don't have to do anything else. By just being in this path, you will get all the results which one who does know, studying the Vedas, perform austerity, sacrifice, giving charity, philosophical and activities. He need not do all that, but he will get the benefits of whoever does that. At the end, he reaches the supreme board. In fact, in the Varnashram system, we talk, brahmachari, householder, vanaprastha, and sannyasa. There is the path laid out in the Vedic times, how you go one by one. And by doing that, you will reach the abode, okay, reach the Supreme Lord. But he says, if you just take straight away to Krishna consciousness, that is Bhakti Yoga, you surpass all this. But you will get all that punya, all that benefits which results also you will get. Vedeshu, Yajneshu, Tapasu, Chaiva, Daneshu. Everything you will get, all the palam, pradishtam. Just you have to do, perform your, accept the path of devotional service. That's all he says. So this is what was the summary. How to remember Krishna at the time of death, and why it is important, and what bhava we should have, and why we should do, because material world is a dukkhalaya, and it is spiritual world is eternal, and there is always annihilation and partial annihilation, complete annihilation, and again will be coming back for the cycle of death. And only pure bhakti can help us. So, and how to remember him as a person who has all the inconceivable potencies. So this is the material world, it's a dukkhalaya. We should remember at the time, and it's not a sukha. And we think like that, pure devotional service. And Prabhupada here says, that doubts are natural, but certain things can increase our faith. That is knowledge of the person, association of people, and experiencing it by ourselves, right? doing chanting and doing devotional service. So with these things, our doubts can be cleared and we can increase our faith in the Lord. So this is the summary of what we see in this. I will end this thing. Ancha kalpatru abhyascha kripa sindhu ave eva cha patitamnam pavanebhyo Vaishnavo namo namaha. So Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. I hope you all can chant and be happy. I'll stop. Think if there's any question, then I will come back and show the PDF. Okay. Oh, I didn't stop.